Good morning, everyone. Pam Jacobson, your host of Three Things You Need to Know. Welcome. I don't even know now how many weeks. I've lost count. I think we're about 10 or 11 weeks into the new year with our Three Things You Need to Know program. If you're joining us for the first time, this program's been going on for about a year. There's been a lot of great episodes. I really encourage you to go back. Each show does stand on its own, so you will walk away today with a lot of good information. But I may reference things that I've talked about in the past. So please do go back and look through the library. I think you'll find some great pearls there. Our focus always is on optimizing wellness. And we're really looking in 2021 for like our best health ever, right? I'd like to see all of us, including myself, really optimize and have my best health. I'll be in 2021 is my 60th year on the planet. And I would like this to be also my healthiest year on the planet. And I have to say that that is proving to be quite challenging given the continued craziness in the world from a global perspective, the pandemic, the politics, the just all of it. I'm in the process of needing to purchase a home, help my son purchase a home. And it's probably one of the worst, real estate market out there for a buyer. So lots of, stress and just kind of craziness going on. And as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, transitions have been challenging, right? My world has changed considerably since last March, right? I used to have a physical office that I would go to. Instead of talking to all of you on YouTube, you would come into my office and we would chat in person. That doesn't happen anymore. I closed that office in July and now do everything virtual. So when I'm talking to you, my client, I'm doing that via Zoom or I'm doing that via phone, and I'm doing that from my home where I live. So those transitions that used to be pretty automatic, you would leave the house and go to work, you would leave work and come home, just don't happen. Sometimes it's such a blending of things. You can be in one room working and then in the next room you've got laundry going, and then you've got the doorbell ringing and you've got the dog barking. And I know that you all know what I'm talking about. So, in my work with clients in optimizing their wellness, there's the 4 key pillars. And again, this is a reason to go back and look at other episodes because I go into a lot of detail about these pillars and what to do in them. But one of them, a very important one of them, is stress response management. And an important aspect of stress response management is making these transitions throughout the day. And I find personally that has become very challenging. And when we add our external stressors, which are going to happen, right? Most of the things that I consider to be stressors in my life at the moment are not things that I directly have any control over in terms of being able to change when they happen or even change the fact that they're happening. So stress response management, as I've talked about extensively over this last year, is even more critical now than ever. So I wanted to talk today about one aspect. So it dawned on me as I'm feeling anxious and stressed that probably the primary technique that I'm constantly talking about with all of you is meditation. And meditation is probably one of the most profound things you'll ever do for yourself. But here's the reality of meditation for me at the moment. And this is certainly, I have probably a better understanding now when I have pushback from my patients that meditation is challenging for them because they don't have the time necessarily, or the nervous system is already so overwrought that it's difficult for them to create the space for meditation, or to even, if they did create the space for them to even feel like they're able to move the nervous system into a better place. And the reason why meditation helps to do that is through the breath. And that's what I want to talk about today. How can you breathe your way to better health, to less anxiety, to less overactivity of the nervous system? Because I realized in this last week or so, as things have really ramped up for me in terms of my level of perceived stress, because I've got a number of important things going on, a lot of balls that I'm juggling, and I'm still running this company that I'm very proud of, and I am committed to helping my clients on a daily basis. So I've got a lot of balls in the air, and I have succumbed to this lack of regular meditation, right? Because frankly, it is a timing perspective, but it also is what I noticed is the more stressed I became, the less I even thought about meditation, right? It was just not even a thought process, because when you're off in that jungle and the lion's chasing you, it's not going to be in the back of your mind that you need to meditate, right? You're in survival mode. So as I slipped into survival mode over the last week and a half or so, what I recognized is that I was not even thinking about meditation. Now I didn't even think to plan for it. And so what I, first of all, had to come to the realization that obviously I practice what I preach. But sometimes I'm normal, just like all of you. I struggle with that, and I have my own issues that I have to, first of all, recognize. So I think that's the first step, really, is to have the awareness. So at some point I had to have the awareness that I'm stressed, and I've gotten my routine, right? I would normally meditate in the morning. I would meditate again in the evening at the end of my workday, and then I would put on a meditation when I go to bed. But that hasn't been happening, or at least not consistently. And as I've not been consistent with that, my perceived level of stress has gone up and up and up. So why does meditation work? Well, it works because the breath, right? When you're meditating, one of the key features of meditation or yoga or biofeedback is the breath. And the reason why that's important is because many really positive things happen when you take a deep breath. And when I say deep breath, generally you would be taking that breath through the nose with the mouth closed, deep through the lungs down into the belly. So very deep. Most of us throughout the day are shallow breathing, only at the chest level. That's the type of breathing that we employ when we're running or when we're stressed. When that lion's chasing in the jungle, we're not going to be taking deep breaths into the belly. When we do take a deep breath, what happens is it signals this. There's two parts to our nervous system, right? There's what I call the active activity, the active stress response mode, and then there's the rest, relax, digest mode. And we go in and out of these two parts of our nervous system all day long, depending on, probably first and foremost, how deeply we're breathing, right? Because that gives a signal to the nervous system about whether or not we're in danger or stress of some sort and need stress hormone production, or whether we're actually in a relaxation phase and we need to digest, and some of these other things that happen when we increase our blood flow through breathing. So what are some of the things that we get with a deep breath? Well, it reduces our stress because of this switching mechanism that takes us from our stress response side of our nervous system to the relaxation side. So it increases our sense of calmness. It can help with pain reduction, because when we deep breathe, another thing that happens is we produce endorphins, and many of you have heard of that. Chemical production of endorphins is sort of the feel-good hormone, but it also helps with reducing our perception of pain. It can be our own, pain control that we create inside of ourselves. So we get some help with pain. It stimulates our lymphatic system. So a lot of the discussion we've been having since January was about detoxification, about helping the body's natural cleansing systems do a better job. And your lymphatic system is one of the key detoxification systems in the body. I've talked about it in terms of using rebounding exercise to squeeze the lymphatic system and help to flush it. But also when we take a deep breath, it activates the lymphatic system and aids us with detoxification. About 70% of our detoxification actually happens through that system. So the more that we can do to improve the function of lymphatics, hydration, movement, deep breath, calming the nervous system, it assists our lymphatic system in working better. And it's important because 70% of your detoxification happens through that system. We can improve our immunity. So anytime we Well, we relax the body, but we improve our blood flow. We improve our digestion and our ability to absorb nutrients, whether it's supplements you're taking or foods that you're eating. When we have good nutrient absorption, all that vitamin C that you're out there taking, and your zinc and your echinacea, all the stuff you're taking to avoid getting COVID, how much of that are you actually absorbing, right? If you're really stressed out and not breathing and not in digest mode, you're likely probably not absorbing a lot of that. So we can help our immune system. Certainly we can improve our energy. Anytime we bring oxygen into the body and oxygenate the blood, we're going to be able to improve energy. We can, for those of us that have issues with blood pressure and heart disease, taking deep breathing can be a big bonus for lowering the blood pressure, again, through muscular and vascular relaxation, and just improving blood flow through the body. So there's lots of benefits that happen when you just take a deep breath. So what I would challenge you to do is to not think about, how am I going to carve out time for the task that Pam has given me to meditate in the morning and meditate at the end of the day and meditate at bedtime, right? To give myself these transitions, use meditation. Instead, I want to challenge you all to simplify. And when you can't set aside the time, you're too overwrought to even consider meditation, then I want you to really simplify it to the understanding that it really is just about the breath. So if we can just breathe, we could make a huge impact on our health immediately. And so how to breathe. So how to breathe, there's lots of different ways. You can Google breath for health and you'll get all kinds of different breathing methods. Wim Hof is a very famous, I think he's more of a scientist, but has developed this entire breathing method that it has become very well known. And there's like a beginner YouTube video. But there's a number of different methods, but I want to just give you a really simple, it's called 4 square breathing. And you could just use that technique, right? It's a deep breath in. And remember, when taking a deep breath through the nose, and we're taking the deep breath way down into the belly. So it comes into the lungs. You want to continue to take the breath deeply down into the belly. You can put your hands on your belly. You want your belly to rise. And so I would count 4 square breathing is a count of 4 on every movement of the breath. So it's a slow count of 4 as we breathe into the belly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We breathe in. We hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we breathe out through our nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's called 4 square breathing. Essentially, you're just using the number 4 and you're counting, it's really 4 seconds, because if you say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, that's roughly about 4 seconds. And so you're breathing in for 4 seconds deep into the belly. You're holding for 4 seconds. You're breathing out through the nose, completely emptying. So you want to squeeze your belly to your spine. So you push all the air out in 4 seconds, and then you hold that for 4 seconds before you begin the next breath. So it's an easy technique. You can do it anytime, anywhere. You can be driving, you can be working. It doesn't require that you stop what you're doing. But I do find that you need to tie breath to something so that you remember to do it. Because remember, our default mode always in our nervous system, at least in our culture, is going to be the stress response side of the nervous system, which is going to have us shallowly breathing all day long. So we're going to need some way to remind us, because it's not a natural, unfortunately. It is natural when we're born. Babies breathe this way, but it quickly is lost and is not natural by the time we are adults. And so we need to intentionally breathe. And I find that I need reminders to do that. So one of the things that I challenged myself with, understanding that meditation was not something that was going to work for me right at this moment, is I tied it to 2 things. Every time I'm in the car, from the moment I step in until I get out. So this morning I had to drive someplace. It took me about 45 minutes to get there and back. And so I did 4 square breathing for basically for 45 minutes. Okay. They all the way there and all the way back home. I could listen to the radio. I could listen to a podcast. I probably couldn't talk on the phone. So if that's the time of the day that you do all of your phone calls, that could be a little challenging. But for most of us, when we're in our vehicle, we're alone, we're able to tie our breathing to that time. So I would challenge all of you to use your time in your car if you're driving someplace, and use that time to deep breathe, 4 square breathing, or maybe you have someone in the car and you're going to need to speak with them, but you can, at least in the first minute or so that you start driving, take several deep breaths, and at least have done something to begin to calm the nervous system. The other thing is I would use some type of a reminder system, right? There's lots of different ways to do that. You can use your phone reminder tone. If you wear an Apple Watch, you can set a reminder, or a Fitbit. There's a really great little app called the Mindfulness Bell that I love. It's free, and it is it's more of a bell chime, a beautiful kind of a singing bowl bell type of chime. I think I've talked about it before on the program. I really like that timer because it sounds from my phone, so it kept my attention. Where I think I've gotten pretty good, as most of us have it, probably ignoring my phone tones. So it catches my attention. And again, it does not have to stop what I'm doing, right? That could happen, if I'm in a meeting or even doing a video, and I could take a deep breath and no one would really know, right? So this idea of using the deep breath throughout your day is something that I really challenge all of you to look at, because I feel, given the level of stress that many of us are under, I know many of you are parents, you're trying to get your kids ready to go back to school. We're trying to figure out things like vaccination and, reopening our businesses and what's that going to look like. I mean, there's just so much happening globally, on top of all of us that just have our everyday stressors already. For me, there's some family issues, and as I said, this crazy real estate thing. So what I would say is, if you are not going to be able to make the time specifically in your day for meditation, then at least use deep breathing to help you manage your nervous system activity throughout the day. Because that's really the most important part of meditation, yoga, any of those types of techniques I've talked about under the pillar of stress response management. Every single one of them have one thing in common. That's a deep breath. So just to quickly review, we're talking about breathing your way to better health. It's a really simple thing to do. It gives you lots of great benefits aside from just relaxing and calming you. And, there's lots of different techniques. So you can go online and look that up and pick one that works for you. But a really simple one is to breathe in and out through your nose, using what I call the 4 square breathing, which is slowly breathe in deep into the belly to a count of 4, hold to a count of 4, slowly breathe out to a count of 4, and hold to a count of 4. So it's a really simple technique, but very effective. And then when to do it, as much as you can, as often as you can. So I feel like if you set a timer for every hour, that's going to keep your nervous system very modulated all day long, right? It's going to constantly get a reminder that you are not needing any assistance for survival, that you're doing really just fine. A deep breath really turns that system off and keeps you more in the relaxation mode, which is the place where we can cultivate better health. So I hope you found this helpful. It's a really simple technique and a really simple idea, and something I've really had to do a lot in the last couple of weeks. So, I practice what I preach and I teach what I learn, and I've learned some valuable lessons in the last couple of weeks, and deep breathing is what's getting me through all of it. So take care, everyone. I'll see you next Wednesday right here at 9 a.m. Pacific time.